Hey, and welcome back to another segment here on GEMS podcast. With me today is a special guest by the name of Izzy Baker. And let me tell you more about my guest so you know what you're in for. So, Izzy Baker is a fake comedian, mental health advocate, podcast extraordinaire, and educator whose love for Christ has put him in the position he is in now. Although he suffered from mental health issues at one point in his life, his faith in God, along with therapy, changed the whole trajectory of his life and thinking for the better. And that's commendable when you know what is going on, but you know that certain situations in your life are not permanent, they're temporary. And then you begin to take the necessary actions to get over those hurdles. I think that's commendable. So today, Izzy and I are going to be talking about how to be mental health conscious for millennials or anyone in general, because dealing with mental health should not come with a negative stigma just because you're going through a certain period in your life. So without further ado, let me welcome Izzy Baker to GEMS podcast. Welcome, Izzy.
Well, hey, how you doing? I'm glad to be here.
I am doing well and thank you for asking. So, before we dive into our main subject, I definitely want to give you a chance to connect with the audience in a fun and personal way. And we could do that one or two ways. So, the first option is a icebreaker, or the second one is a rapid fire 10-question game. And it is rapid for a reason. So, what are you interested in? Icebreaker or rapid fire?
I think I want to do rapid fire. I'm feeling like a challenge today. Let's do that.
Okie dokie, we're playing rapid fire with Izzy and Genesis. Do 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 do. Question number one. We're gonna take it from the top. So I know Izzy is your nickname. So tell us, why do you go by Izzy versus your government name?
All right, I love that government name. I just want to tell people don't call my government name. Okay, so my name is Isaiah Williams, and my whole life people always struggle with my name. Like they could never remember the name. I've been called every other book of the Bible, right? And so in high school, I was in this class with all seniors, and they were like, "This one dude, big goofy dude, he was like, we're gonna give you a nickname." And I'm like, "What?" He was like, "We're gonna call you Izzy." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "That's terrible. I did not like it." So I was also a lot bigger. I've lost a lot of weight. I'm in the 220s now. I used to be real fat. And I was in the history class, and the history teacher said, back in the day, your last name was based on your occupation. So he was like, if your last name was Smith, you were a blacksmith. If your last name was Johnson, you were John's son. And then somebody made the joke and was like Isaiah Baker because I was fat and I was always talking about like cakes and stuff. And so, right. And so one day it was in the ninth grade. Was totally against social media at that time. I've spoken a while on my podcast back in the day, and everybody was on Facebook. So I ended up making a Facebook. And my mom, I remember she said, "Hey, if you got a Facebook or something, I would like to check it out." I wasn't going. So I came up with the alias, but put the two names together, Izzy Baker, and then it just been stuck ever since.
Amazing. Now the rest of the question, they're gonna come in hot, like Andy Mineo says. I'm coming in hot.
Okay.
So question question two. Do you have a favorite CHH artist? And for those of you listening, CHH is a Christian hip hop artist.
I like Lecrae.
Okay. Question three. If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
Super strength because I just feel like that'd be cool. Just picking up stuff and throwing stuff and saving cats out of trees.
Question four. Since you are also a podcast host yourself, is there a person that you would love to have on your show? Whether it's a person that you admire or it's a celebrity that you just love some of the work that they're doing on the forefront as well as behind the scenes.
Joe Button.
Okay, so are you ready for this challenge? Okay,
Let's do it.
I challenge you to reach out to Joe Budden and connect with him, whether you're sliding in his DM or you're reaching out to his PR team, and tell them why you feel like You and Joe can have a value added conversation, what Joe will get out of being on your podcast, and why you resonate with him. Because at this point, what do you have to lose? You're shooting your shot. It's either going to be a yes or a no. Do you accept the challenge?
I do.
Okay. So, since you're accepting the challenge, here is the time to change. You will have 2 weeks to complete this challenge, and you must send me a screenshot. Like the song says, don't you hate it when you get screenshot? So I know that you took the challenge and it wasn't just a lip service.
I like okay, I like that. And I like lip service. I'm using that tonight. I'm gonna use that phrase tonight.
Okay, so he accepted the challenge, audience. So slide in his DMs and ask him, Izzy, did you complete Genesis's challenge? Because we have to hold each other accountable and we have to push each other outside of our comfort zone sometimes. So question 5, what's your favorite color?
Blue.
Okay, ooh, I like blue too. Question 6, would you rather a dream car, dream home, or hell? Who says you can't have it all? Let's have both.
Both.
Okay, if you had to choose dream car, what would your dream car be though?
Ooh, something lame. A Jeep. A Jeep. That's not even lame. Like one of them real big fancy ones, and I'm gonna get it. So it won't be a dream for long.
Oh, okay, like a Jeep Wrangler jacked up on some
Yeah.
with the
With
top
the
off.
doors off. Top.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. I don't know if I can fool with Jeeps because they don't go that fast. So right now, I'm sitting in an all black Lambo, black on the inside with some blue neon lights because I love Need for Speed. And y'all, I'm about to be a mama, so I don't know how my baby's gonna go in the back seat. So,
They're gonna be in the backseat laughing while you drive as fast as you can.
question 7, favorite food.
Pizza.
Okay. Question 8, if you could go anywhere in the world and money was no option, where would you be headed?
I'll be in Italy.
Question 9, favorite scripture.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, I got a few. Probably right now, I will probably have to say Proverbs 10 and 22. The blessing of the Lord creates wealth and it has no sorrow.
Okay, and question 10, it is our pass or play question. And here are the rules. If you pass, you're throwing the ball back in my court and you're asking me a question because our roles are reversed. If you choose to play, I ask one last question to wrap up rapid fire. So, do you want to pass or play?
I'll play.
Okay, last question. You get 3 random acts of kindness per day that you are supposed to do for someone other than yourself. What are your 3 random acts of kindness for today?
Hmm. Tell someone they look nice. Call somebody who I haven't talked to in a while that I've been thinking about just to check on them. And buy somebody lunch.
Okay, so those are your 3 for today. So tell someone they look nice, buy somebody lunch. I love to pay it forward. And call somebody that you haven't talked to. So you could go down in your phone, do some inventory, and be like, who haven't I talked to? Let me just send them a text. Let me just call them or whatnot. So thank you for playing rapid fire, Izzy, and taking the challenge. And I will be looking out for that screenshot in my inbox or my DM on Instagram.
All right, I got you.
So let's dive in to your podcast and the work that you're doing for young mental health conscious millennials who struggle with making healthy decisions. And in your bio, you mentioned that you personally struggled with mental health. So give us a glimpse about you dealing with mental health and what led you to the work that you're doing now.
All right. So, great question. So, basically, when I was around 9 or 10 years old, well, I know for a fact my parents got a divorce officially when I was 9, but they separated when I was 8. And, it's funny because I actually talked to my dad recently about this, and he was saying that because he is a guidance counselor. And so he was saying that divorce is what really set the tone for a lot of your issues because we don't realize it, but studies show that that's what actually opens the door for a lot of issues that kids may go through. Now, of course, not every child, but for a lot of them. And so as early as probably 9 or 10, it was not just the divorce. I think it was a lot of other stuff too. I just felt like I didn't really want to be here at a young age. And so, right. So early as, so I know depression and suicide and anxiety for a very long time, off and on for many years. And so it was a situation that happened when I was in college, towards the end of college. I had contemplated going to a therapist before, but I had kept putting it off. And so a situation that happened where I was kind of isolated from a lot of people. And in the time being isolated from people, I was like, now's the time to go. Because I got to the point where I kept having the same thoughts. And I woke up one day and I was just like, I just can't, I'm tired of feeling this way. And unfortunately, a lot of people who get to that point, they unfortunately commit suicide. And I went to a therapist, Dr. Cooper at Texas Southern University. And that was 2016. And I was with her from May 2016 all the way to December when I graduated. And it just helped me to see things totally different. And it was definitely a great outlet. And then moving forward, that's when, the podcast came about because my dad, same person called. My dad called me and was like, you creative, you should start something like a blog or something. So I came up with PSA, Prodigy Sportive Attestations. Prodigy is the name of our brand. Sportive is a double meaning. It means light and playful. And then attestations is something delivered as true or news. So if you put it together, it's Prodigy's funny news or light truth, because I'm giving you the truth. I'm just doing it in a playful manner. And so it started off as a blog that was in the form of the best week ever. You remember that show on VH1? It was like the end of each week, and they would have like celebrities, comedians, actors just come and just kind of give whatever happened in the world that week. They just came and gave their commentary on.
I think briefly, and it was kind of like a summary from their vantage point of what happened, right?
Yeah. And so that was the blog was in that format. And then I did it and I just couldn't keep up with it. And I remember this was 2017. I started a new job and I was telling one of my friends at work, who's still one of my good friends. I was actually at her wedding a few weeks ago. And she was telling me how I was telling her, he said, I got this idea for this show or something that I want to do because the name was too creative, but I just couldn't keep up with the blog. And so finally, I was hearing God, I was praying. I'm like, Lord, what should I be doing with this? And I kept hearing the Lord say, I heard YouTube channel or podcast. At the time, I always wanted to do a YouTube, but I didn't. My body wasn't there yet, because this is right when I kind of started losing weight. It wasn't all the way there yet. And so I was like, my body's not ready for that yet. And then I was listening, let's do a podcast. I'm like, podcasts? I don't even listen to podcasts like that. But indirectly, because he always sets up stuff that we don't realize, that whole year, because I was going through a lot, I was listening to this lady named Robin Nicole's podcast. And I was listening to her podcast the whole year, just whenever I was just chilling in the house. I didn't have a job. It was a lot going on. Post-grad depression was very real. And so I was like, well, if I do a podcast, don't nobody have to look at me, because I didn't really want to be seen at the time. Well, I didn't mind being seen, just not on camera. My body wasn't ready yet. And so I did a lot of research.
Hold on, I want to chime in real quick right there because this is important, audience. Because he said he he had the inclinations. The Holy Spirit was talking to him, either podcast or YouTube channel. But he said when it came to the YouTube channel, in his mind, he said his body wasn't ready yet because he was going through the weight issues or whatnot. But I just want to preface this: how many times is the Holy Spirit or discernment or intuition telling us to do something, but we don't want to do it out of disobedience because we feel like we're not ready? When if we were to just take that leap of faith, things will already be lined up and orchestrated, because it's not our will be done, but it's His will be done according to His glory, and He will make provision. So that's kind of ties into imposter syndrome, which I'm sure some of you have heard a lot of people talking about imposter syndrome these days. And I just wanted to interject that there, Izzy, as you continue, and then I'm going to follow up with some commentary afterwards. But I think that was a good point to kind of just break in there, because I feel like we have all struggled with that at some point in our life, and myself included, because I never wanted to go on camera and do anything like that. But jump back into the story and then I'm going to recap.
Okay. So just it really to end it off. So once like I said, it's just so funny because it didn't click really to me until like a few weeks ago. I'm like, the whole podcast thing, you was trained to do podcasts when you listened to her podcast all them months, not even realizing. And so leading up to that, I remember doing research because I for her do a podcast. I remember I was sitting in the bed one day and I was following this lady at the time, and she said, "The Lord is giving y'all the insight today. It's not tomorrow, it's coming today." And I was supposed to go out with my friends, and I didn't go. And I was laying on the bed, and like the ideas for the podcast just started dropping. So once I heard for sure podcast, then I heard YouTube, and that's so funny you say what you said because it leads to what happens next. I heard YouTube. It said YouTube will be later because you're gonna do that later, but do the podcast now because I didn't want to do the podcast. I'm like, I don't like the sound of my voice. Long story short, I took about 2 to 3 weeks to study podcasts before I launched my first episode, which is still active and available, and it's horrible. Don't listen to it. And
Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm gonna tell you why really quick. I'm gonna interject. So I always believe in sharing as creatives. We have to share our start ugly moments because it's the start ugly moment that led to the success. So even though you may think that it's nasty or you don't like it or you're not pleased with it, some of those could be our best topics, and there is always a message that gets to somebody else, whether we fully co-sign it or not. And if you think about it from this standpoint, Izzy, you mentioned you are a believer, you're a man of faith. If you look at the word message, you see that there's mess in the beginning, a message. So without going through the mess, we wouldn't have the message that we put out today. So I always tell people, go back and listen to some of the beginning episodes because it's the beginning that helped me transition and transform and catapult me to where we are now. Because how many times do you see these celebrities, these icons, and etc., and you're like, ooh, I love this, but you never take time to do the research and dig in to see what are the struggles, what are the hurdles that they have to overcome, what are the start ugly moments, or etc., because that's what made them hungry. As Les Brown says, you gotta be hungry to keep on going. So give yourself credit where credit's due. Celebrate the small wins as well as the big wins because it is what has you a part of this journey. Because had it not been for the first episode, you may not been encouraged to keep on going with more episodes. So I just wanted to just stop you right there respectfully and tell you I would encourage my listeners to listen to the very, very beginning episodes because then they get to connect with you as the podcast founder and creator and know a little bit more on your insight. And that's what builds that credibility, that know, like, trust factor when you could be real, raw, and transparent.
Okay, all right. Well, everybody go listen to it then. So that was 2018. Episode 1 came out February 2018, and now we are in season 6, 2022, and it's been a journey.
So now I'm going to dive into PSA because when people think about PSA, they're like public service announcement, but yours is Prodigy, then what's the second part?
Sportive.
Sportive, SPORTIVE, sportive.
Yeah,
And
yes.
then the A is
Attestations. I know people can't pronounce it. Attestations.
attestations. So let me see if I
Yes.
can spell it. ADSTATI.
ATP.
Okay,
Attestations. Attestations.
attestations. Okay, we're gonna have to spell that. So spell it for the audience.
ATTESTAION.
Okay. Okay, I
S.
like
There we
that. And then you mentioned Prodigy is the line. That's the brand. So
go. Mhm.
the sweatshirt that you're wearing, is that tied with the brand, the belligerent?
So belligerent is a part of my own line. Like so, basically, yeah. So the Prodigy brands, I actually that's my dad's brand, but we're part of it together. He started it years ago. So I'm actually in the process of adding some more to the collection. Belligerent. I have a lot of catchphrases,
Hmm.
and it's a story behind this. If you want to know that too, but if not, that's fine because of time.
Okay.
But it's a story behind this. It's a story behind a lot of the things that I say and do. So all of it we put together. We have PSA shirts available. I got to get the link for that. And then the belligerents, we have some available on their website, but I like to have the ones that are from me personally. So but we're going to get that together and then I had that going on. But I
Ooh,
like when you said PSA, people read it as public service announcement. That's what I want. I want people to say PSA, like, oh, so it means you got something to say. Of course, the name, and we live in an acronym age anyway, where people like to shorten stuff. So, and then now with me adding to the name instead of PSA podcast and not PSA, the mental health podcast, people kind of get a nice little rebrand, soft, very soft reboot.
I love that. And you're always welcome to send your girl some swag because I will definitely wear it. And we can even wear it together and do a recap via Instagram Live because I'm all about supporting other businesses and other podcasts. And I'm actually just shameless plug. I'm actually looking for podcast brand sponsors because I feel like we could collaborate and go further together when we cross pollinate. And I want to dive in more in mental health. And I really like that you shared your story because you mentioned that your father, who is a guidance counselor, mentioned how the divorce played a factor into some of the things that you dealt with. And there are a lot of children whose parents have been divorced and they never go seek therapy. And you went to therapy. And as a person in the African American community, sometimes people in our community don't always like to go to therapy because they don't want certain people in their business. And I'm here to say therapy is not a sign of weakness, but it is a sign of strength because you realize that there is something going on with you and you need to connect with a trade paid professional to help you get on over the hurdles. And some people say, I need to face my inner demon. Some people say, I need to face these traumas in order to get over it, or etc. And me being multicultural, because I am Caribbean descent, so both of my parents are foreigners. And I know when I lost my dad to medical negligence in November of 2020, it was hard for me, but what helped me was talking about it with a life coach, therapy, and different stuff like that. And I didn't see it as a sign of weakness. I just saw I was in a broken place, but I knew that broken place was not going to be a place that I remained in long term. It was just a mere season that I was in. So whenever you all, and this is for you audience, when you think about mental health, we need to stop placing negative stigmas around mental health and realize this is not a lifelong journey. And there are different ways that you can overcome mental health, whether it's bipolar, whether it's schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, or any other form of ailment or illness within the mental health sector. But get real with yourself, get over the denial, and realize that you don't have to go through this on your own. There are people out there that can help you. There are various numbers that you could call, mental health crises, where they will send you an unmarked car to your home so someone could help you. It does not mean you're going to be committed to a mental health institute. It doesn't mean that you're going to be put on pharmaceutical drugs that you won't be able to get off of, or etc. But recognize whenever something is not going on in your body that is conducive to the life that you want to live and the life you love. And it's okay. So I just wanted to interject that, especially having gone through mental health first aid training. I learned a lot of stuff there based on the algae method, where there's different ways that you could assess the situation, where a person could listen to you non-judgmentally without putting off their preconceived notions, unconscious biases, and etc. There's different ways that you could talk about it and etc. But you have to be open to receive the help, but also open to let people know that you're in a state that it's scaring you a little bit and you're not sure why. So I just wanted to interject that there, Izzy. Is there anything else you want to follow up with from that vantage point?
Not so much. Well, I had put up the two during when you were speaking, just because I went to two different therapists. So I went to the one in 2016, and because I'm an educator, it's free. For those that don't know, if you're educating, you be like, oh, because one of my friends, he educated, he was just like, he said, I'm gonna need to get some therapy. I said, well, for educators, it's free. I mean, I assume in other states, but I know in the state of Texas. So, the first time I got it was because of Texas Southern University. They offered it free at the time before it became the wave, because now a lot of other colleges are, but at first Texas Southern. It was a handful of other ones that were offering free services, but a lot of colleges didn't then. Now I'm sure they do. A lot of them do. And then the second time I went was in 2021. I went for 6 months, 5 months. My therapist got a different job and at a prison, but it was a black man. He was a little older than me. I was 26 at the time. He was about 35. And then my first therapist was a black woman. So both of them were effective in different ways. And that's what I liked about him. He was a little more, obviously more, well, she was personable too. I can't even say that, but him being a black man and being a little older than me, because she wasn't that old either, but him just only being a little older than me and having different views compared to her, but still very effective. And that's the thing too with finding a therapist. You have to find one that matches you, and more some people, more than one person might match you. There's a thing with that. But also with him, what I liked was, well, with both of them, they were both black. That was for me helpful. And then the fact that with him, he was, like I said, not that much older than me. So I think that was kind of that was kind of yeah.
Amazing. And thank you for sharing that therapy is actually free for educators. And you mentioned in the state of Texas, but for those of you listening outside of the state of Texas or outside of the country, just kind of check on that. And you could check on it based if you have healthcare insurance, because a lot of healthcare insurance, they do have different things that they cover. So always understand what your policy will cover that you don't necessarily need to pay for out of pocket. Then also, if you are still in the employee bucket, there are different employers that will pay for numerous counseling sessions. So always take advantage of the perks that your company does offer. And once again, just always do your research and then find a therapist that fits you, where you feel like it is a partnership because you're doing life together. And you want to make sure that therapist understands you, but you also understand that therapist. And you feel like you could be open and honest in a therapy session without feeling like you're walking away, feeling as if, oh my gosh, like, what are they saying about me? What are they thinking? Or etc. Because you're going through it so you could get over it. And that's why the word breakthrough says, so yes, sometimes you go through the breaking point, but you're going to make it through, hence breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And that's cool to hear that you are an educator, Izzy. I had no idea because I did not see that in your bio. And, shameless plug here. I don't know about TSU, y'all, because I went to U of A, so it's all about them Cougars. But that is amazing, Izzy. And I want to throw you an audible to see, is there anything else that we have not covered in this conversation that you want to mention to add value around mental health? We know that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and June is Men's Health Awareness Month. So for all you men out there, please go to the doctor, get a physical. Don't be ashamed to go to a therapist. And just like you talk about sports with your homeboys, your guy friends, or etc., be open about talking about your health, because your health is equivalent to your wealth. How can you enjoy the wealth that you acquire if you don't have optimal health? So think about that, men. And I just want to salute and support y'all and let y'all know I'm an ally. And the reason why I ride for men's health is because I love my husband and I want to make sure that he's in the best health, not just for me as his wife, but also for our family as well. And for the rest of the people in our lives that love him and he loves.
Okay. Just to end off, I just think that for me this season, again, God sets us up for stuff and don't even realize it. But like even with you saying how this is men's mental health awareness month.
Wait, hold on.
And
Not men's mental health. It's men's health awareness. So it's like the big
yeah, okay,
P.
yeah, not men.
Yeah,
Okay, there we go. I messed it up.
no
So
worries.
men's health awareness. It's just interesting to see how majority of the my guests this season have been men from all different walks of life. And I'm really big on health in general because I think as a people, and I'm not even just going to leave it at black people, even though it is, but men in general across the board don't get checked out. And I'm just very big on, I'd rather find out now than find out 5 months, 5 years, 10, 12 years later and now you looking like one of the people in the Tyler Perry movies when you didn't found out you got cancer, and you was like, well, I never went. But why didn't you go when you can literally go once a year just to make sure things are good? And so I'm big on that. And we don't just stop it at health, as far as like physical, dental. Um, we've already talked about mental health, it's that kind of stuff too. But it's all areas. Eyes, go get your eyes checked out. I've been had some issues at one point, but we good now. So I'm just big on all of that, and just to keep the range going, because I think it's like you said, and like you hear all the time, it's good to see men in these spaces, and then of course incorporating other men as well, so then it can just be like I can't think of the word right now, but it'll just be something great. I'll just leave it at that.
Amazing. And thank you for adding that value, Izzy. And I always say, united we stand and divided we fall. And when we can link arms with people that may or may not look like us to push the needle forward and create a movement around mental health, around health in general, and etc., then you never know how that's going to create those synergies, the domino and ripple effect. So this is here for us to educate you and let you know that as a male and female having a transparent conversation, we are here to support you. And if you need somebody to talk to, you can reach out to us, either Izzy or myself, Genesis. And Izzy, what is your call to action for the audience today?
So my call to action is as always, but I had a twist to add to it. So one, just follow me on all social media. My podcast page is on my regular page. So I just say for Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, if you want, and TikTok is _ Izzy Bake Oven. And the other call to action is I'm actually in the middle of I'm in my mid-season series right now called Quarter Life Crisis. And for those, excuse me, that don't know me, um, every season since season 3, I do a I do a mid-season series and an end of the season series. And since season 4, I have this. I'm super creative and I market it like I'm a rapper and it's an album. So season 4 was marketed like a mixtape. Season 5 and 6 are marketed like albums. And each series, I have a cover art and everything. Go look on my page and see. And they're all marketed like an album for this series. And like they all have tracks, which are episodes, and it's the signaling of the middle of my season. And so basically, this one is called Quarter Life Crisis. And for those that, like she kind of briefly discussed, my niche is for those who struggle with making healthy decisions, because that's mental health. And so, and one of my cousins who's a psychologist said you coming from a holistic approach. So the call to action will be to just tap into the Quarter Life Crisis. It's range, of course, anyone can listen to it, but it's for people specifically from 25 to 34. Stuff that we go through and things that we wonder, should I have kids right now? Should I be married right now? Why am I not married? Should I make the decision to be married? How should I date? Should I be upset that I'm 25 and I'm not married with kids like I thought I was going to be? It covers all of that and stuff that we think about and we worry about. So just to give you a sense of peace, and then strategies with the guests and the experts that I'm going to have featured. So yeah.
I love that. So, y'all, I will plug all of Izzy's contact information in the show notes. Like he said, it's at Izzy Bake Oven, and it kind of sounds like a play on words. It kind of reminds me of the toy Easy Bake Oven, but it's not that. So I will definitely link that. And then before I sign out, y'all, I am going to read you one stanza from the song Andy Mineo, You Can't Stop Me, because I feel like all of us are unstoppable. So he says, can't stop, won't stop, where the brakes at. I give him that diddy bop, like take that, take that, take that, take that. I'ma put in work. I'ma do that ASAP. Throw my faith in rap, but they say don't say that. Huh? What I'ma turn down for? I feel like Shaq in 9-4, breaking glass in the backboard, or kind of like Kobe in Toronto. Huh? Dropping 81. You know I dropped the 88. Ricky Bobby, shake and bake. Sleeping on us, should have stayed awake. Huh? Everybody makes mistakes, like BJ's trying to say my name. It's Minio. Say it with me. Minio. Okay, great. 2 forks high, raise the stakes, risk it all. I take the hate. It's the winning team. Get the Gatorade. My God good, but he's not safe. Nah, they try to shut us down and it ain't gonna slide. Only thing I fear is God, and he on my side. That's the confidence of God, because he got me. That's why I really feel like you can't stop me. So y'all, I know that was a little bit more than one stanza, but I had to like get it in there because I feel like all of us are unstoppable. And once we take that leap of faith, once we get outside of our comfort zones, and once we know who we are and whose we are, then we are truly the epitome of being unstoppable. And just because you may go through trials and tribulations in your life does not mean that those trials and tribulations are going to hinder you from curating your message. Take the mess and make it into a message. Go through the test and make it into a testimony, and allow your intuition and your discernment to get you to level up in life so you can live the life that you love and love the life that you live. And on that note, once again, Izzy's contact information will be in the show notes. All you need to do is read, scroll on down, and tap in with Izzy. You can find this recording on 40 plus platforms, audio based. The video is on our YouTube channel, which is GEMS, GEMS, with Genesis, Amaris, Kemp. And lastly, but not least, we are looking for brand sponsors. You could have your products and services heard right here, where we are ranked in the top 2% globally out of 2.8 million podcasts per the metrics on www.listennotes.com. So until the next guest, next segment, peace, love, and lots of blessings. Have yourself an amazing day. And remember, you are unstoppable.